Good evening, chat. Hello. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome. It is Saturday night. We got one or two things we're getting to tonight. The first one I thought was really important to get going because I was a little busy at the beginning of the month. I mean, it's only the 12th, but this came out April Fool's Day. And I didn't have a chance to get to it. And I wanted to take a look at it and really get, and it's even better because so much stuff has come out since then. It just makes it even more like, mwah. It really does. It really does. So we're going to get to that. Well, first of all, welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I'm an attorney in the Cleveland, Ohio area, and some of you would say, well, wait, this is a lawsuit in Australia. It is, but we can at least talk about this isn't the most complex thing. This is about who the defendant was in this lawsuit and why they were absolute scumbag liar about what happened and why they misled everybody about what the lawsuit was about. And we're just going to go through all of this. And we're going to go through all of it. And you're going to go, wow, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. But who buddy, this is not a flattering thing. All right, so here we go. Hold on here. What are we? Somebody's messaging me, I think. Before we get too far, we are live tonight on Rumble. We're live tonight on Twitter and YouTube. So, let's see here. The unlikable versus the unlovable. I think that's kind of where we are with this. And we're going to get to this. And guys, we are going to go through the actual court opinion because it's very neat. This judge, this Australian judge, published his opinion. Now, I couldn't find the original link for it, but I did find somebody who had already boosted the audio and kind of clipped out some of the quiet parts, but we're going to get to that. We're going to get to it here, and it's going to get started. So before we get too far, some of you might say, well, who the hell is Karl Jobst and who the hell is Billy Mitchell? So Karl is a YouTuber, and he got his start doing speedrunning. And if you guys don't know what speedrunning is, the idea is you complete a game as fast as possible, or you complete a level as fast as possible. And some of you might say, is that really a feat? Like, who the hell would do this? It's actually a big deal. It's a big deal. You can hold records for it. There are different, GoldenEye, for example. If you guys ever play Nintendo 64, there's a speedrunning community there running every level in a certain amount of time. For example, Karl got famous because he ran the dam level in GoldenEye in 53 seconds. And he, made a name for himself being able to do stuff. Yes, he is also a pickup artist, but I'm not going into that. I'm not going to go into that. He's got his own. He finally has a page on the forums. You want to look up all that shit? Go for it. That's not what we're here for. That's not what we're here for. Dude says 1v1 me in GoldenEye. All right, we'll do the stacks of power weapons. That's how we're going to do it. But that is his initial kind of getting into the world of YouTube and becoming known out there. And then after a while, Karl became known as a games journalist, I guess, or commenting and covering issues in the speedrunning communities and the video game playing communities, covering cheaters and other scandals. And if you guys have never seen Karl, well, here's Karl's. Hold on, you guys. Oh my gosh. No. This is a picture of Karl. You guys never seen Karl. This is him right here. As he likes to say, hello, you absolute legends. Well, this is the absolute unit there, Karl Jobst, or Jobst, or whatever I don't know how he wants to pronounce it, but that's him. And then Billy Mitchell is this guy. This is Billy Mitchell. We'll get to him in a second, but I just want you guys to know who Billy Mitchell is. No, we're not doing the pickup artist thing. This guy's his own level of cringe we can address. So Karl ended up becoming covering different things out there in YouTube as far as things that were on his channels and things that were going on. And Karl's got a channel that's pretty big. He's got a big old channel. You guys have never seen it before. This is Karl Jobst. 1.1 million subs. And notice, 173 videos. That's pretty good. you look at the information here, 235 million views. He's from Australia. Good day, mate. Actually lives in Brisbane, where Bluey is made and like Bluey is set. So as you can see here, he talks about all kinds of stuff. Elon's, cheating scandal. Gerard the completionist. This is a guy who scammed a bunch of people out of their money for charity, but they never turned the money over for charity, which this one was an actual legit thing. You'll see this guy here, Billy Mitchell. He does a lot of videos about Billy Mitchell, and we'll get to why. The other guys, these guys like people stealing and speed running. There's people in fake pro gaming. He talks about all kinds of stuff, cheating and glitching, fake speedrunners. He comments on like in Doom, somebody beat a record that's 26 years old. And he just goes on and on and on and on and on with this stuff. Okay. So it's out there. It's out there covering drama, but it's all generally about video game related stuff. So, and it's all very clickbaity, but that's what he does. That's what he does. Now, moving on to who Billy Mitchell is. Billy Mitchell is this gentleman here. Billy Mitchell is a legend in the gaming community. Billy Mitchell is kind of like one of the OGs of, like if you guys know about Ninja and all those other like people play Fortnite, all that crap today. Billy Mitchell was those guys back in the 80s. Except nobody knew about it, so you'd have to go to like gaming conventions and other things like that. And Billy would, be playing Donkey Kong and those arcade games, and he was just dominating it. And he'd play in front of people. He'd play against other people. He'd beat them. He would control scores. Like he'd set world records. And he was well known for that throughout the 80s. I mean, that's kind of his thing. He's known as that guy. It also, Billy Mitchell has like a, his family business that does very well. He also sells hot sauce. He's a hot sauce merchant. So kind of like Runkle, except Runkle doesn't play Donkey Kong. Anyways, Billy Mitchell was known as the King of Kong. There's a documentary out there about it on HBO because he was like the best Donkey Kong player in history. So that's how Billy Mitchell became well known. Now, that's how Billy Mitchell pretty much became important out there. Ag says it's a shitty hot sauce. Okay, well, it might be. It might be. So anyways, that's Billy Mitchell. Now, Billy Mitchell is a very litigious man. He's got one of the unique things, that allows you to be extremely litigious. Either you're a complete lunatic, or, people are you could be overly litigious. He has a lot of money and he can afford to burn money. Billy has sued a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, primarily around allegations that Billy Mitchell, after a while, had been discovered to be using emulators and basically using hackable and cheatable video game systems while he's making these high scores that he had. There's some, it's like there's a whole issue there about, playing Donkey Kong on a not to spec machine that could be manipulated and messed with. So at that point, Billy Mitchell was delisted from various gaming organizations as being one of the all-time greats or having all-time scores, world record scores. One of those places was a place known as Twin Galaxies. Billy ended up in a lawsuit with them. The lawsuit went back and forth for a while. It resolved, and they've now created like their all-time legends division, and Billy Mitchell's there. He's not like in the all-time great scores. Like there's a bunch of stuff that went down. Yeah, and yeah, he used different joysticks. Yeah, like everything was not up to snuff with what he did. So people got sussy, and at that point, Billy sued, saying, "How dare you call me a cheater? And how dare you take my stuff down that harms my reputation?" And this Twin Galaxies thing led to another person. And this Twin Galaxy stuff has been going on for years and years now. And I'm sorry, my nose. Hold on. Oh my God, I've had a horrible day. I've been sneezing so much. I don't know if it's the weather or whatever. I think it's the weather because I've been sneezing all day, and 2.0 was like, I feel so sorry. I'm like it's starting to sneeze to the point where like my shoulders hurt just from like hunching over and sneezing. Anyway, the Twin Galaxies lawsuit is actually a very, very big one that Billy Mitchell was involved in. Many people covered it, including a YouTuber known as ApolloLegends. ApolloLegends covered the whole thing, and Billy Mitchell ended up suing ApolloLegends. Now, as things progressed, and this is where we're getting to the story here so you guys understand it, things got really tough for ApolloLegends. Okay? He had a bunch of different issues, and eventually, I got an allergy to the fox waifus. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I need to start in the microphone like DSP. Okay. All right, so anyway, Billy sued ApolloLegends. ApolloLegends and Billy had a lawsuit. It ended up resolving. And in the meantime, ApolloLegends committed suicide. Took his own life years ago. And he basically he did a suicide note. And, in this note, we're going to go through this real quick. Mr. Bubble says, I remember listening to him at work like 6 years ago. Yeah. Yep. So here's what ApolloLegends did. Here's ApolloLegends, basically his suicide note. And it says, I love you all. And we're gonna focus on these two names real quick. Thank you to Dark Viper and Easyscape for giving me the final push that I needed. Now it's funny, if you guys see these two names, these two guys are like Karl Jobst's friends. His broskies. And he says, I tried to hold myself back in the video, but I can't help it. People have no clue what I deal with every day. When I was 5, my dad threw me on the ground and covered my mouth and nose where I couldn't breathe. And screamed in my face because I wanted to play some game that he was playing. That's how he treated us. I couldn't tell that story without crying until I was 18. And he says, I have a scoliosis, which is really rough, which causes my back and hips and shoulders to ache constantly. I'm sick every day. I throw up often. My medicine makes me vomit, but if I don't take it, I vomit. My body is useless. I can't do anything. I'm completely out of my mind. All my thoughts are so painful and aggravating because I'm mentally ill. Everything I say online gets used to make me look like a bad person. I'm not a bad person. I'm under incredible stress, trying to live with this much pain, and let's see the decisions you make. That's the only stuff I'm comfortable talking about. There is more that's even worse. The speedrun community, which is what Karl is part of, is such hypocrites. They pretend to care so much about everyone's feelings. And then in the same video, they call you retarded scum. Well, yes, most of them are psychotic. And that's also a weird thing. There's like a big Troon overlap in the speedrun community. And Karl's a big lefty, too. So, suffer, commie Karl. And I'm not talking about the enraged Karl. Karl Jobst is also lefty. So, suffer, commies. It says, I know I expose people for cheating, but I never said anything like that. They tell me they agree with me privately and then publicly betray me. If I complained about my life all the time, that I bet they see me as relatable. But because I try to push through it, they act normal. They hate me. This is basically his suicide note. So, yeah. Yeah, so he took his own life. And from here, this is where things start for Karl. From here, Karl produced a video blaming Billy Mitchell for ApolloLegend suicide. And he said that it was the reason why was because of this lawsuit, and basically Billy hounded him to death and caused him to take his own life. It's a real thing. That's what Karl did. From here, Billy reached out to Karl and said, hey, take that shit out. And Karl did, kind of. There was a thing here where Billy Mitchell did get to talk about it. And he had a highlighted comment. He's saying, Billy's like, Karl removed the allegations from his video. And part of the allegations Karl made were that ApolloLegends had to pay Billy Mitchell money. Multiple people confirmed that wasn't true, including Apollo's family, but also Keemstar. Yes, Keemstar, that Keemstar. Yes, back then, back when this all happened, he was big time covering everything all the time. So Karl Jobst removed the allegations. A reliable third party confirmed the illegitimacy of his allegations directly to him. I am currently unaware of any official retraction, however. Either way, that won't do. Karl fabricates a baseless story with fictitious events to pin a suicide on me, but he seemingly thinks a simple removal reconciles his conduct. And it says the damage has been done. Over 600,000 people saw that video before he removed the claims. He pinned the suicide on me in front of hundreds of thousands of people. An ad and sponsor revenue, which Karl has tons of that. Karl's make pretty good money doing this. Drives a GoFundMe to 50,000. You notice this is kind of like, we're gonna see that again. Don't you worry, chat. We're gonna get back to that. We're gonna get back to this point. Yes, Eric, we're gonna plan on covering that after this, so we'll give a couple minutes to do that. Yes, Keem in the day was the kingmaker. In exchange, I received tons of hate, calling me a murderer, saying I killed ApolloLegend and I have blood on my hands. And he's saying, no, thank you, Karl. So this is Billy Mitchell. This is him. This is really him. So what happened from there? Well, Karl basically doubled down and said, fuck you, I'm not really apologizing. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. So that's basically how it worked. That's basically how things went. He was repeatedly threatened to, please take it down. Like, don't do this. He was threatened with cease and desist letters, asked to stop. Karl didn't do that. In 2021, Karl made this tweet here, and he says, this is where things start going on. He says that Billy Pac-Man, which is Billy Mitchell, claims he will sue me for saying ApolloLegend paid him money. That's not, you see, this is where the bullshit starts. The allegation Karl made wasn't that he paid him money. The allegation is you caused the guy to kill himself. He says, I removed that portion from my video. Not because it's wrong. Notice, Karl's not saying it's not wrong. But because this isn't the issue I want to go to court over. I'd rather him sue me over his fake Donkey Kong scores. Notice, this is where you can already see Karl being a lying shitbag about what happened. Being an absolute legendary liar. And swindler. Which I think is funny, because as he talked about, the Gerard the Completionist, hustling money out of people under false pretenses is fraud. Well, I think we're getting to some false pretenses here. I'm just saying myself. I mean, that doesn't mean Gerard's a nice guy. No, I think Gerard's a scumbag, but Karl's game recognizes game is what I'm thinking there. And Gerard is a video game player who was raising money for his mom had dementia or some shit. I don't care. I think he's Turkish too, so it's Turk Roach hustling money. They raised $600,000 over a couple of years and never donated a dime. And when he got called out for that, Gerard had a bunch of bullshit answers, and then finally they donated all the money. So, that was Karl did one thing, but I think Karl was game recognizes game, which is understandable. It's just like a Hannibal when the serial killers recognize each other. Or was it Red Dragon where the serial killers... Is Red Dragon where the serial killers recognize each other? So we have that. And then eventually Karl gets sued by Billy. Now, Karl gets sued by Billy in Australia. Because Karl lives in Australia. So... Oh, and Hannibal it happens too? I forget. I don't know. I remember watching all of them. As things go here, we move on to Karl's GoFundMe. So notice, Karl's talking about, I want to sue over the games. Glossing over this first part. So we go to Karl's GoFundMe, which is still up. This man still has it up, which is fucking ridiculous. And I apologize. Some of you guys are like, wait, Sean, you're kind of spoiling the story. But anyways, raised over 200,000 Australian dollar doodles. which isn't that much, chat. That's like $50 American, which is it's 62 cents. So you get like 2/3 of the value. So like, hold on here. I had the number already. 201,000 is $125,000 American. So he raised a lot of fucking money. $125,000. You guys didn't know that. That is a lot of money. That's 125K in American. You want some buckarooskies. That's a lot of freaking money, man. That's a lot of money. You're gonna you could do a lot with that. And that's in USD, real dollars. That's a lot. So he made a lot of money off people. So Karl Jobst organized this fundraiser. And he says, "Hello, you absolute legends." That's how he starts everything off. "My name's Karl Jobst, or Jobst, more like Karl Blowjobst. That's why he's probably going to have to make the money. I'm a YouTuber who often reports on video game cheaters." Okay. Sounds good so far. "Last year, Billy Mitchell, the star of King of Kong and proven video game cheater, sued me for defamation, claiming damages of $450,000. Okay. So you notice we're talking about cheating, not I alleged he caused someone to commit suicide. Notice we're only focusing on the cheating. Here. It's like, how is this working? How does this work? I'm just saying something here is a little sketch. Yes, this is way more than Nick Rekieta can raise. Correct. So we move on from there to what else does he talk about? Well, Karl keeps on. I'm so many tabs open. "The past year alone has cost me almost $200K to defend. It'll cost me another $100K before it's over. The situation is crazy. But has since got much worse. Billy Mitchell has sent me another defamation lawsuit for another $450K. So that means I will defend 2 lawsuits at the same time, with both being extensive. But it gets even worse because Billy's threatening me to do more lawsuits." Yes. "These lawsuits are unhinged, and it's highly likely Billy will ultimately lose. But until we go to trial, that requires a lot of money, and I appreciate any help, as this affects not only me, but my family. It's obviously bad enough to attack me when I've done nothing wrong, but to injure them as well takes things another level. Naturally, the more money I'm raising, the better my legal defense will be. That's just the way it works. If and when I defeat Mitchell in court, he will likely have to pay back a lot. I will use that money to host a grand gaming tournament in his honor. I appreciate all of the support." So, now, notice it says I'm talking about cheating. All right, cool. He's a known video game cheater. Okay. Karl doesn't ever actually tell us what this is about. Karl doesn't tell us what it's about. Once again, chat, what he doesn't say is very funny. Very, very funny. So a lot of people paid shit. And this is, we know it's him because it's Karl. He's out of Queensland. This is QLD. That's Queensland for the people in Australia. I saw you there. Hello. I said Brisbane. I hope I said it the way you wanted to hear it. Not Brisbane. It's Brisbane. So anyways, you see people like everybody thinks about cheating. This guy, Matthew, says, let's bring down the cheater. Billy Mitchell sucks. It's all about him and what it's done, that he's bullying and harassing people. Everybody thinks it's about Billy Mitchell being a cheater. All over. So that's what we have there. Now, as far as the trial itself, this was held in September. And if you guys want to see just kind of how ridiculous Karl's side of things were, there is a website called perfectpacman.com. And it's somebody, and the evidence against Billy Mitchell. And notice, all of this is just Tardo. It's about video games. Blah, 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 blah. Video game, video game, video game, video game, video game, video games, blah, 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 blah. You know, video games, video games, video games, video games, video games. This is somebody that was basically a Karl, stan here. All the way in certified by Karl. Karl's broski. They go on, and it's all about video games so far. Video games, video games, video games. It's like a video games. Where's it about him accusing ApolloLegend of killing himself? This is all they focused on. It's a very well manufactured campaign. It's a very well manufactured campaign. So, it's a blog, I get it. But clearly, he suckered a lot of people. I thought Karl was being sued for Billy Mitchell too. For cheating. That's what I thought it was. And here is a very good example of this guy coping after it all came out. And I'll leave that there. If you guys do want to see somebody with a basically, when we listen to the court's opinion, this guy went through and he sat there and basically recounted everything that happened every day. Yes, if you listen to this guy Ursat's Cats, it sounds like the story was, Karl and Billy went out to go play golf. Karl scored 18 holes in one and still lost. It doesn't make any sense. This is, you can see how delusional these people were on Karl's side. So, yes, this was somebody in Karl's camp who all they did was focus on Billy Mitchell being a cheater and he's a bad person. So, this is just, once again, it goes to all of this. Now, Karl did make a video, and this is important. We're going to bounce around in this video, but this is one we have to look at. And this is a video that was made May 31st, 2024. So what does this get to us here? Well, this is Karl saying, I'm finally going to trial against Billy Mitchell. Now, we're going to go through some points on here real quick, just to see what we're talking about here, and just so you guys have an idea of what Karl's doing. Is Karl just a tard? Well, you're going to understand what happened here. We're going to get to all this. So here we go.
A bitter war of Donkey Kong has exploded with controversy over a high score, making it all...
I bet Karl tries to copy strike me for this, so we'll see. So anyways, we'll get to Karl here.
...way to a Queensland courtroom. An American video game champion is suing a Brisbane YouTuber over cheating claims.
Hello, you absolute legends. As many of...
So there you go. That's Karl's, byline there. So we're going to start with... who Billy, the Twin Galaxies thing here, just so you guys understand it real quick. So here we go. And this is Billy Mitchell also talking. He gets to go everywhere he does stuff.
I will answer these questions. Plus, we will take a quick look at a few of the things we will be arguing about in court. And some of the things Billy is trying to claim are insane. For example, and I swear to God this is real, Billy is trying to claim that he was never banned from Twin Galaxies for cheating. Yes, the guy who was banned from Twin Galaxies for cheating and...
Now notice, this is where Karl starts. Karl starts with that. And he goes on and on and on and on and on and on. He gets through he starts doing his bullshit sell of things. And then he finally gets to commenting on ApolloLegend a little bit. But we're going to get to, notice what he doesn't say.
Handed to him in court. We want to see a real bona fide loss. Honestly, at this point, Billy's lawsuit against me is the world's last chance to see this epic defeat happen. If Billy loses to me, it will be devastating for multiple reasons, which I will get into shortly. So this is really important that it does go to trial, and I do my very best to serve Billy the loss he so desperately deserves. But he has settled before, and not just with Twin Galaxies, with the YouTuber ApolloLegend as well, and both times the public was very upset. Is there any...
Notice he talks about ApolloLegend, but he just talks about Apollo settling. That's it. That's all he says there. That's all he says. Yeah, Billy does have the American flag tie. I like the tie, but his hair looks so weird to me. It looks so fake. Oh, Stephen Gosney raid. Hello, guys. Thank you all for being here. If Karl copyrights this, strikes his video, insult his wife's chest size, approach her, insult her, and walk away. Well, that, Karl, also, I don't like all your commie shit, so suffer. I don't like trannies. Suffer, Karl. Suffer! Karl's a big tranny guy, doesn't like the farms. Yeah, big old lefty. He can lick my communist. He can lick some communist nutsack. Have fun with that, Karl. Good day, mate. Okay, so anyways, we're going to keep moving here. So he keeps on talking about stuff, and then he starts making some arguments, which are the typical kind of lol-cal legal arguments you'll hear. And we've heard some of these before, people we've covered. So here's one of them he's going to make.
On the standard cost basis. I don't know what Billy has spent so far, but based on the poor quality of work by his lawyers, it's probably less than half of what I've...
Notice, the poor quality work against his lawyers. Really? Really, the lawyers are poor quality. Poor quality work from the lawyers. Okay. No, I don't. I was about to say my nuts are communist, but hey, I said he could lick my nuts because he's a dirty communist. So there you go. Now, he needs a flow beat. No, I mean his hair works. His hair works. So, yes, he said his lawyers were the best, like a true idiot. I'm scoring, if you ask Karl how when you played, if you guys went out and played baseball, he'd be like, I hit 100 home runs. I win everything 100 to 1. 100 to 1. So there we go. Oh gosh. So we're going to keep going here, guys. We're going to keep going here. All right, I stepped in it. But anyways, Karl could fuck off. I hope he comes after me.
Spent on mine. And while my loss seems unlikely, I would be an idiot if I didn't prepare for it. I've been privileged enough to have a lot of financial help from members of the public and people like Notch who have donated a tremendous amount of money, but this only covers my own legal expenses. It doesn't cover any of the damages I would have to pay or any of the legal costs Billy has incurred.
Notice we're already getting onto some nonsense here. So he's going to go on to what's his defense strategy here. And here's his defense strategy.
Defend a defamation claim in Australia that go beyond just proving what you said was true or that it wasn't defamatory. One of them is to say that Billy didn't have a good reputation to begin with, so it's not possible that it caused him any damage. Before I published the video in question, it was already well established that Billy was a cheater.
And that's one of Karl's defenses is Billy's such a piece of shit, I can't defame him anymore. Now, remember, he's saying the guy who was cheating caused somebody to die. That's kind of a big step. That's a big leap in logic. But that's where Karl planted his flag here. That's where Karl planted his flag. And then we're going to get to the end of this. At about 10 minutes in, he finally mentions some ApolloLegend stuff. Here we go. Anyways, Billy Mitchell does love America. And you know what? I'm glad he loves America, and this commie cuck Australian can suck it. Because Billy Mitchell love America. America's the best goddamn country around. American-made hot sauce. Yes, chat. American-made hot sauce. Based. Yes. And yes, Billy Mitchell is a Florida man as well. So, here we go.
He's trying to play both sides. I'm also going to argue that he expressed joy at the thought of the YouTuber ApolloLegend's death. This is obviously a terrible thing. And not only did he imply he was going to smile and giggle if ApolloLegend died, but he also said that he hoped it was true. This was in 2018, which was 2 years before ApolloLegend actually died. At this time, Billy had only heard that he had died from his wife, and he was gleefully texting about it to his friends. Billy's defense to this is that ApolloLegend didn't die until 2020, so Billy only thought ApolloLegend had died, which makes his text.
And it's also not causing it. So I don't see how this helps you, Karl. Yes, I don't see how you think this helps you. But that's Karl's arguments, basically, that he's going to dominate. And he went out and hustled people for more money. And this is what he tried to show. Like, you know what the funny thing is, guys? He did the PWR thing. This is PWR. The guy who's the Dark Side Phil supporter that everybody's making fun of. the guy who's got like the 35-year-old guy who lives with his mom. This is PWR levels of shit. This is PWR levels of cringe. Karl, mate, you cringe, mate. This is just retarded. Look at this shit. Look at this. So there you go. That's how Karl thought was going to happen here. So Karl goes on and goes on and goes on, and there actually is a court case. There is a court case here, and we're going to go to it because it does tell us what happens. I couldn't find the original one right at the top of my head. But some guy is called Down the Crop too. He kind of cropped it up, he enhanced it and trimmed it up a little bit because there's some quiet spots in this. But the judge does go through and explain what happened here. It's actually pretty good. It's pretty good. So here we go. Yes, he's the Aussie Nick Rekieta. Thank you, Tyler. Tyler from the Libertarian Podcast Review chat. Give him a look. He does some great stuff. He's the best review of Libertarian podcast, but he's also the best Libertarian podcast that reviews things. So you get it both ways there with Tyler Yankee over there at the Libertarian Podcast Review, guys. Also, very good attorney. If you need family law work done in the central to like Northern California area, give Tyler a call. Look him up. He'll take care of you. He does good work. He does God's work out there, chat. Kicking ass if you pay him. So.
The plaintiff, William Mitchell III,
This is the judge. Here we go.
commonly known as Billy Mitchell, lives in Florida, United States of America. He has been well known among adherents of video and arcade gaming in many countries, including Australia, since 1982. At an arcade and video gaming competition in November that year that took place in Ottumwa, Iowa, USA, playing an arcade game called Donkey Kong, Mr. Mitchell scored a world record 874,300 points and was the first person ever recorded as reaching the kill screen, that is, reaching the end of the game. At the time, he was 17 years of age. Mr. Mitchell went on to be recognized as having achieved a number of world records and world firsts in video and arcade gaming. They included achieving the first perfect score of 3,333,360 in another game called Pac-Man in 1999, setting a new world record and the first score of over 1 million points, the record being 1,047,200 points in Donkey Kong in June 2005, another Donkey Kong world record.
So you guys understand, this judge is actually kind of laying out Billy Mitchell's bona fides. And it's important you know this, so you understand how Billy Mitchell becomes known and becomes part of this world that we're looking at here. Like, how does this matter? What does all this matter? And why is this critical for us to understand? So we're gonna skip ahead here to we're gonna skip ahead just a little bit because we don't need to get through all that. But here are the allegations for the cheating, so you guys understand.
Mr. Mitchell was accused of having cheated in achieving his Donkey Kong world records by allegedly using computer emulation software instead of original arcade hardware. Twin Galaxies investigated the accusation, and in April 2018, it announced that it had concluded that 2 of Mr. Mitchell's world record scores were not produced by the direct feed output of an original, unmodified Donkey Kong arcade printed circuit board, or PCB. It was not able to determine whether the third score was produced on original arcade gaming hardware or with the use of emulation software. As a consequence of its findings, it announced that it had decided to remove all of Mr. Mitchell's scores and to ban him from participating in its competitive leaderboards. The following day, Guinness World Records announced that as a consequence of Twin Galaxies' decision, it too had disqualified Mr. Mitchell as the holder of all his records, both in Donkey Kong and in Pac-Man.
That's what happened. There were issues about the equipment he used, and now we're going to get this judge covers the ApolloLegend lawsuit, okay? Real quick, and like I said, we're going to jump around to this, but this is kind of explaining what happens here.
Mr. Mitchell commenced proceedings in the United States for defamation against Twin Galaxies and a number of others. One of those lawsuits was against a young man, Benjamin Smith, who was known online as ApolloLegend. I refer to him as ApolloLegend in my reasons. He published videos on YouTube about gaming, including a number in which he accused Mr. Mitchell of cheating, falsifying his Donkey Kong scores, and not using legitimate gaming hardware. Mr. Mitchell and ApolloLegend settled that proceeding on 22 August 2020. Their agreement relevantly provided that ApolloLegend would remove all of his YouTube videos and social media posts that referred to Mr. Mitchell. He would assign the copyright in those YouTube videos to Mr. Mitchell, and he would permanently cease producing any oral, written, or electronic documents or communications that in any way mentioned or referred to Mr. Mitchell or his family, apart from making an agreed statement in terms provided in the settlement agreement. Any breach by ApolloLegend of the last of these obligations would result in him being liable to Mr. Mitchell for $25,000 for each breach. Unless he committed such a breach, he did not have to pay Mr. Mitchell any money. ApolloLegend appears to have complied with that agreement. However, on 20 December 2020, he published a video on YouTube, referred to in this proceeding as his goodbye video, in which he told viewers that he was recording his final video. He said, "This is the end of my life," and he explained why. In that video, he did not mention Mr. Mitchell, nor the claim against him or the settlement agreement. Shortly after publishing it, he committed suicide. Defendant Karl Jobst lives in Queensland. He regularly publishes videos on YouTube, mostly about speedrunning, but also about video and arcade gaming world records and people who cheat in those games. He has over 1 million followers on his YouTube channel. On 26 May 2021, he published a video about Mr. Mitchell and another video gamer, Todd Rogers, entitled "The Biggest Conmen in Video Game History Strike Again." He accused Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Rogers of cheating and of pursuing unmeritorious litigation against people who had accused them of cheating. He also said the following about Mr. Mitchell, quote, "He also sued YouTuber ApolloLegend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but this lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Mitchell. He was forced to remove all his videos about Mitchell's cheating and paid him a large sum of money. This left him deeply in debt, which required him to find extra work, but with his ongoing health issues, this was all too much of a burden, and he ultimately took his own life. Not that Billy Mitchell would ever care, though. In fact, when Billy Mitchell thought Apollo died earlier, he expressed joy at the thought. The lawsuit against Apollo was just as frivolous as the rest, and Apollo definitely would have won in court. But again, he was extremely ill and couldn't handle the ongoing stress." End quote. That video containing that passage was online for 10 days from 26 May 2021 to 4 June 2021, and for an additional 5 days from 9 June to 13 June 2021.
Guys, this is the video where Karl accuses Billy of doing this. So there you go. This is where it starts. This is where he makes the allegations. And notice, those aren't, oh, it's my opinion. Those are pretty factually based allegations. So this is where it starts. This is where it starts for Karl. And remember, yes, didn't Karl and Viper, well, no, Karl's other friends bullied Apollo. Yes. And that's the funny part. His friends actually were cited as reasons by the guy who took his own life. The guy who killed himself said he named the people who were Karl's friends. Isn't that funny how that works? Huh? Isn't that ironic? How do I say it's Brisbane? Thank you, Hella. Hella's gonna be like, "Oi, Karl, me mate! We live down the street from each other." She's like, "Oi, we go koala hunting." So here you go.
Between those dates, and since 13 June 2021, the video has remained online, but it contains only the first 2 sentences and the last sentence of the passage that I have just read. While the video was first online in its full version, 2 relevant events occurred. First, on 3 June 2021, Mr. Mitchell published his own YouTube video in response to Mr. Jobst's video. He denied as lies the assertion that ApolloLegend had paid him any money as part of the settlement, or that he had had any involvement with ApolloLegend that had led him to commit suicide. He asserted that Mr. Jobst had effectively accused him of murder. He ended the video by saying, quote, "I plan to respond the way that everybody anticipates for me to respond. And Karl, expect me," end quote. The second relevant event is that a mutual acquaintance of Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Jobst, known online as Keemstar, contacted Mr. Jobst at Mr. Mitchell's request and told him that it was not true that ApolloLegend had paid Mr. Mitchell any money. Mr. Jobst agreed to take down that part of the video while he investigated that issue further. While not taking it all down, he only left up the first and last sentences of the passage that I have read. He then emailed ApolloLegend's brother to ask him whether ApolloLegend had to pay any money to Mr. Mitchell as part of the settlement. Mr. Mitchell's lawyers then served a concerns notice on Mr. Jobst, asserting that he had defamed Mr. Mitchell. In response, Mr. Jobst posted that letter on Twitter, claiming it to be very exciting and that any action would be an amazing experience. He then reinstated the original version of the video on his YouTube channel. It was not until...
So it sounds like Karl got told cease and desist, knock it off. And Karl's like, oh boy, I dare you to sue me, huh? It almost sounds like we've heard of that before. Isn't it kind of funny how that works? Isn't it kind of funny how that works? Isn't that kind of funny how that works? But yeah, a letter of concerns expressing like a grievance and kind of saying like, hey, you're causing problems. You shouldn't do this anymore. And what did the guy do? Fuck you, I dare you to do it. Guess what, Karl? They did it. So yes. Yes. But Nick kind of told me I could defame Billy Mitchell. Yes. Mate. So that is where we are with this. We talk about this part here. So we'll move on. We're going to cover the last little bit of this and we'll kind of skip around here, okay? So this is what we'll address some things, but here we go.
13 June 2021 that ApolloLegend's brother informed Mr. Jobst that ApolloLegend had not paid any money to Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Jobst then altered the video again to remove all except the first two and the last sentences. That version has remained on his YouTube channel since then. The video containing all of the offending passage was downloaded in the periods that it was online by over 500,000 people, including over 20,000 in Australia. Since then, over 8,000 comments have been made on the video, including at least 396 that, it may be said, accused Mr. Mitchell of causing ApolloLegend to commit suicide and even called him a murderer, evil, and a scumbag. Similar comments have also been made on videos by other publishers on YouTube or other online media. The most recent that has been brought to my attention having been made in early 2024. In this action, Mr. Mitchell sues Mr. Jobst for defamation, claiming $400,000 in general damages and $50,000 in aggravated damages. Mr. Mitchell contends that the video, particularly the passage that I have read, made 5 defamatory imputations about him. Those imputations were, first, Mr. Mitchell had required ApolloLegend to pay him a large amount of money to settle Mr. Mitchell's defamation claim against him, which caused ApolloLegend to go into considerable debt and to take on extra work to survive. Secondly, a major contributing factor in ApolloLegend's decision to take his own life was Mr. Mitchell's requirement that ApolloLegend pay him a large sum of money to settle the defamation claim. Third, Mr. Mitchell had hounded ApolloLegend to death. Fourth, Mr. Mitchell was the main cause, or alternatively a cause, of ApolloLegend taking his own life. And fifth, Mr. Mitchell's conduct was a contributing factor in ApolloLegend taking his own life. Mr. Jobst denied that the imputations alleged by Mr. Mitchell were made in the video. I have found that the video made each of those defamatory imputations. Mr. Jobst also defended the claim on a number of other grounds. First, he alleged that Mr. Mitchell...
There we go, chat. The court makes a determination that there were 5 separate things. The judge, the ApolloLegend. Okay, give him a, guys, he's Australian. I'm not reading this all in an Aussie accent. No. But here is, in his actual thing here, these are the 5 allegations that were imputed in this, okay? Notice, this isn't about cheating anymore. This isn't about fucking cheating. Karl, you fucking cocksucker, you lied to us. This is the shit we're worried about. These are the 5 things the judge focused on. You know, that Billy had required him to pay a large amount of money, and all this caused him to go into debt. You know, it was a contributing factor in Apollo's decision to take his own life. That he had hounded ApolloLegend to death. And then it was the main cause or alternatively a cause. And it was a contributing factor in ApolloLegend taking his own life. These are the things here, chat. These are the big things. These are the big things. These are the allegations. These are the allegations here. These are the critical allegations. Notice, what don't you see? What don't you see here, chat? Like, you know, you absolute legends. Are you guys able to take a look at this? Because you know what I don't see? You know what I don't see, chat? You know what I don't see, you absolute legends? Here's what I don't see. I don't see anything about cheating. I don't see anything about cheating. I don't see anything about cheating. Do you? Did you hear anything about cheating there? Do you see anything about cheating? Karl, this is the judgment, chat. This is the judgment from the court here. This is the District Court of Queensland. This is in front of Judge Barlow is King's Counsel, and I forget what the other things are here. Hayden could probably tell me. But yeah. We're gonna get to some other stuff up there. We're gonna skip all that though. So we're not gonna read the yeah. So that's the problem. That's the problem here, chat. And you guys can read this 120 pages. We're not going to read the whole damn thing. Okay? But do you see anything about cheating? Karl, you absolute legend. I don't see anything. Is there cheating here? No. No, I don't see cheating here, not here, not here. I don't see anything about cheating. Apparently the judge doesn't. Apparently the judge doesn't think so. Do they have a king over there? No, it's because the king of the Commonwealth, King Charles. Being King's Counsel is more of like he's a higher esteemed lawyer and stuff. So here we go. Here we go. And we're going to get to this. We're going to get to all this in a second. We're going to get to all this. So that's where we are, guys. The judge is just rapping through this about all the stuff. And he basically, look, Karl's defenses, he blows through them in 2 minutes. This is important to listen to, okay? So here we go. Here we go.
That meant that any of the defamatory imputations alleged would not have harmed him. That reputation, Mr. Jobst alleged, was threefold. First, Mr. Mitchell had cheated to gain recognition as the highest or one of the highest scorers in Donkey Kong. Secondly, he had used litigation processes to coerce others to recognize him as a world record holder in Donkey Kong and to refrain from identifying him as a person who had been found to have cheated at video arcade games. And third, that he would ostracize anyone he considered a threat to his world records in Donkey Kong. As to his alleged pre-existing bad reputation, I have found that Mr. Mitchell did have a reputation as a cheat in Donkey Kong and a reputation for suing people who alleged that he was a cheat. I have found that he did not have a reputation for ostracizing anyone he considered a threat to his achievements. Mr. Jobst's other principal defense was that the video made 5 other defamatory imputations, each of which was substantially true, and as a result of which, the imputations about which Mr. Mitchell complains did not cause any greater harm to him or his reputation. Those imputations, which are referred to in defamation law in Queensland as contextual imputations, were, first, Mr. Mitchell was publicly exposed as having cheated to achieve his record scores in Donkey Kong. Second, Mr. Mitchell was banned from submitting scores to Trim Galaxies for cheating. Third, Mr. Mitchell had planned to create a video that he could use fraudulently as evidence that he had achieved the score of 1,062,800 in Donkey Kong. Fourth, Mr. Mitchell had callously expressed joy at the thought of ApolloLegend's death. And fifth, Mr. Mitchell used litigation to force third parties to recognize his achievements in video gaming. I have found that all of those contextual imputations were made in the video. All but one of them were substantially true. It was not true that he had planned to produce a fraudulent video. To be clear, I was not required to decide, nor did I decide, whether Mr. Mitchell had in fact cheated in gaining any of his world record scores. Mr. Jobst did not attempt to prove that that finding by Twin Galaxies was correct. Notwithstanding these findings, I have concluded that the defamatory imputations made by Mr. Jobst, that are the subject of Mr. Mitchell's claim, have caused substantial additional damage to Mr. Mitchell's reputation and have caused him considerable additional distress. Therefore, Mr. Jobst is liable to pay damages to Mr. Mitchell for those defamatory imputations. I shall come shortly to the amount of those damages. Mr. Mitchell...
So there you go, chat. It didn't goddamn matter. But cheating. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Carl. You said the guy had caused someone to kill themselves. But he's a cheater. Okay, great. He cheats at video games. That doesn't mean you could automatically assume he does heinous shit. He doesn't mean you could come to heinous shit like that. That is the problem here. This is the problem for Carl. So yeah, isn't it interesting, guys? Let's go back to this GoFundMe. Let's go back to this GoFundMe. This $125,000 GoFundMe, Carl. Carl! You there, Carl? You're cheaters. Cheaters. Cheater. Where is this about you saying you caused a man to kill himself? Carl. I mean, you're at the level of, but Your Honor, he ate my goo. Okay, what does that have to do with this? Yeah, this seems a bit fraudulent now. This seems like, and Carl, this is where I'm going to get to this, because if you take money from somebody under false pretenses, you've kind of misled people, and there's somebody. I mean, you kind of talk about this. You kind of talk about this in a video here, and I think it's important we address this. You know, Carl, because I'm pretty sure you said something about this here. You know, there was some issue of I think how did you say it goes? Fraudulent activity when you try to get people to address things, and you're like, how does that work? I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure, Carl. But here, you know, let's get to this. You know, when you induce somebody to give you money for the incorrect reasons, you know, when he's talking about an open hand charity scam, okay.
Authorities looking into the golf tournament and all of that sponsorship money. I've heard many people say this could just be negligence or ignorance or laziness, but I can assure you this is not the case. This fraudulent activity has been going on for at least 10 years, and it's not just Indieland. Both events were lying and saying they were contributing funds.
So once again, Carl's just going on and on about fraud when you're taking money under false pretenses, and it's like, wow, game recognized game, huh? Yeah, sounds like game recognizes game, Carl. Game recognized game. Is Gerard laughing his ass off? No, because Gerard's a piece of shit too. So no, fuck Gerard. Gerard's a scumbag piece of shit. And I didn't jump onto that. I didn't get onto that in time, but Gerard's a piece of shit too. So no, they were stealing money. And if they weren't, then they shouldn't be handling money because they're too stupid to handle money. But no. That doesn't absolve Gerard. But here we go. Let's listen to him discuss some more here. Because this is just, like I said, guys, this judge blows through it pretty quick.
Mitchell also asserted that Mr. Jobs' conduct in publishing the video and after doing so, was unjustifiable and caused additional personal hurt to Mr. Mitchell and harm to his reputation, which justifies the court awarding additional damages known as aggravated damages. This conduct, alleged by Mr. Mitchell, included, first, making the allegations recklessly and without checking their truth. Secondly, publishing the video twice. Thirdly, holding malice and pursuing a vendetta against Mr. Mitchell. Fourthly, mocking Mr. Mitchell's complaint about the video and his legal action. Fifthly, persisting in his contention that Mr. Mitchell's action against ApolloLegend had contributed to his decision to commit suicide. And sixthly, failing to apologise and to withdraw the allegation. I have found that Mr. Jobst was reckless in making the allegations. His assertions were based on a fallacy, namely that ApolloLegend had paid Mr. Mitchell a large sum of money. That was simply wrong, and he had no reasonable basis for asserting it. Yet even after finding out the truth, he has continued to assert that the settlement had a negative financial impact on ApolloLegend, and that he still believes that the settlement was a contributing factor to his decision to commit suicide. Mr. Jobst was also reckless and vindictive in publishing the full video twice. At the time he republished it, he had been told by Mr. Mitchell via his response video, by their mutual acquaintance Keemstar, and by Mr. Mitchell's lawyers that what he had said about the payment was not true. He told Keemstar that he would not republish that part of the video unless he received concrete evidence that it was true. But by the time he republished it, he had not heard from ApolloLegend's brother, whom he had asked for information about the settlement, so he did not know any more than he had earlier, but he nevertheless decided to republish the entire video regardless. In his evidence, he said that he did this because he thought Mr. Mitchell would sue him anyway. His attitude appears to have been, well, if I'm going to be sued, I may as well go for broke and damn the consequences. It was reckless and showed an absolute disregard for the truth or for the effect of his video on Mr. Mitchell and his reputation. On 29 July 2021, that is about 6 weeks after he finally edited the video and took out the offending passage, Mr. Jobst published a video in which he retracted his statement that ApolloLegend had paid Mr. Mitchell money, and he apologized to his viewers for having given them incorrect information. At the trial, he relied on that video as being evidence of his bona fides and as reducing any harm caused to Mr. Mitchell by his original video. However, that video did not retract the imputations at all. It simply retracted the statement that ApolloLegend had paid Mr. Mitchell a large sum of money. Mr. Jobst did not apologize to Mr. Mitchell in any way, rather apologizing to his viewers for having made an incorrect statement in the offending video. Also, this retraction video was, in total, a little over 30 minutes long. For the first 28 minutes and 24 seconds, it had nothing to do with arcade gaming, cheating, or Mr. Mitchell, but was about a particular type of speedrunning. It then went blank for a few seconds before it returned with Mr. Jobs' alleged retraction statement, which itself lasted only about 45 seconds. Even then, he wrongly said that Mr. Mitchell had not tried to contact him to clear up the error, and he insinuated that he still believed that Mr. Mitchell was responsible for ApolloLegend's decision. Finally, Mr. Jobs' conduct of this litigation, together with his additional online comments about it, were aggravating features of his.
And there you go, chat. Even when he had a chance, to fix this up, even when he had a chance to fix this, he still fucking doubled down. Notice, once again, do you hear anything about a fucking cheater in any of that? Going back to that video of Karl here, I'm being, this one here, I'm being sued. Billy Mitchell's taking me to trial. Did we hear anything? I'm finally going to trial against Billy Mitchell for May 31st. Do we hear any shit in there about the lawsuit? About what he did? Do you hear any of that anywhere? Absolute scumbaggery. Absolute scumbaggery. And then here, Karl's conduct during the case itself. This is, yeah. Here we go.
Conduct. He seems to see himself in defending this claim as a crusader against Mr. Mitchell. He is the last of the defendants who have been sued by Mr. Mitchell, and the only one, apart from Mr. Race, who has not backed down. Even in February 2024, as this action was progressing toward trial, he said in an online interview, quote, Billy Mitchell needs to be destroyed in court. These people need to be punished in a big way before they stop. They need to get taught a lesson. So I am now the last chance. I am the last chance the public has to punish Billy. And also, the last person on YouTube you want to lose to is me. You know there's going to be 100 vids rubbing it in. I will never let Billy forget this, assuming I win. I've got to win first, but man, if I win, oh boy, I'm not going to be a good winner. End quote. Mr. Jobst clearly intended to be the knight who slew the Mitchell dragon. Unfortunately for him, his lance was not as strong as he believed it to be, and it has broken in the contest. I have found that all of this conduct has caused Mr. Mitchell additional personal harm and additional harm to his reputation. It was severely aggravating conduct that merits an award of aggravated damages. Again, I will come shortly to the amount of aggravated damages that I will award. I was asked by each party to make adverse findings about the truthfulness of the other party's witnesses and the reliability or otherwise.
There we go, chat. There we go. I do love the argument. I know PPP said it, that was poetry, about how his lance broke in contact. Yes, Karl thought his kung fu was strong, but Karl, your kung fu, Billy's kung fu, much stronger. Yes, his lance its lance broke. Yes. How often do judges say stuff like that? Not always, but in a case like this, I'll also argue, this strikes me as a very creative person. So every once in a while you do hear, like, there's famously, "Mo money, mo problems" is quoted in a federal court case, where the judge does say, truly, as Biggie Smalls did say, the more the more money we come across, the more problems we see. So it does happen. It does happen. So, but from here, guys, think about it. Karl had a cope. Karl had cope. Karl is, here's what happened. Karl's like, I literally said my videos I could lose. I thought it was guys, by the way, a lot of this information, getting it earlier, showing all the stuff, I did pull off the farms. It's off the Karl Jobst thread. So this all came from the farms. They've collected and curated all of this. So I just want to make that clear for the record. Attributing it where it's properly attributable. The farms, which remains undefeated. So from here, though, I thought it was unlikely. Billy lied a lot during the trial, and I didn't expect the judge to believe him. Okay, Karl. Okay. Karl then says, "Trust me, I'm not a complete fucking idiot." Maybe. Okay. So. Karl then says this other comment here, which you're just like, oh, what? But this is this is really relevant from Karl. You have to understand that if you have no background at all on who Billy is or what he has done, my actions seem inciting and wrong. Yeah, Karl, here's the deal. If you look like a piece of shit from 10,000 feet, you're probably the piece of shit. You're like, no, guys, look, I'm not the bad guy. No, wait. You see that skull and crossbones on my hat? No. And that just means I like bones, and those lightning flashes on my collar. I just like lightning bolts. It's okay. It's no big deal. Yeah, no big deal, chat. No big deal. And then Karl, and remember, guys, this trial was heard in September, and it took a long time for it to come out. So in March, Karl had gone on to his Discord and said, "Here's what is interesting. We fed all the court transcripts in AI, and it said there's no scenario where I lose." This is yeah. Now, here's the problem, and this is where I don't think in chat we're going to go over this at some point. If you guys are new, my name's Sean. I'm an attorney out in Cleveland, Ohio. We're going to cover this coming up. AI in the legal world is dangerous because AI attorneys have been disciplined repeatedly in the past year and a half for using ChatGPT, an AI called case text. AI in a legal situation will literally hallucinate not only just a citation for a case. If you open up and ask it to tell you about a case, it'll hallucinate an entire case, a fact pattern, its citations in that case, and everything that happened. It will hallucinate an entire court case for you, and it does that. And we don't know why. It just is not reliable. So he used it to determine things, and the AI was completely lost its fucking mind. So yeah. But yes, he said, even if Billy wins, the damages will be nominal and he will have to pay my cost. Okay. Well, yeah. So about that, Carl. I mean, we come back to this. You're like, yeah. Well, let's go back because somebody said the damages are minimal. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are looking at what we're looking at. Once again, Carl, I don't see any cheating there. We need to get to this. Judgment for the plaintiff for damages for non-economic loss in the sum of $300,000. $300,000 Australia plus interest of $34,000. For aggravated damage in the sum of $50,000 plus interest of $5,700. So that's not even talking about attorney's fees. Chat. That's not even talking about attorney's fees. I mean, yes, that's like $14 American. Yes. But yeah, for Carl here, hold on. I forgot, I saved this, chat, so we can do it together. Let's do the math. 300,000. Oh, I need to take more. Thank you, sweetheart. Apparently I'm sniffling too much and it's driving her crazy. Plus 34,668.50 plus 50,000 plus 5,778.08. Okay, $390,446.58. It's a lot, chat. Isn't that a lot? So let's go over here. We'll do this real quick. 390,000. What was the calculadoro's number? 446.58. Oh, sorry, we got to switch those around. Oh, we got to do this. Well, we got to flip the script here, chat. Hold on, sorry. $243,754.30. That's not including Billy Mitchell's attorney's fees. That's not even including Billy Mitchell's attorney's fees. So Billy Mitchell's attorney's fees are probably going to be even more. There's also going to be court costs. And then Carl's total fees he spent on his own attorney. Carl probably spent close to $1 million, I bet. $1 million. $1 million. Who, buddy? Can you imagine that, guys? Like what Carl has to spend now. $1 million, I bet, is probably close to that. He's out, and that's not even including, he said he's already spent $500,000. Okay, well, if he spent $500,000, God almighty, he's toast. So this is like, think about it. Carl already said he owes about $500,000 in cost. Okay. Yeah. Would this be a jury trial in the United States? Yes, but you could also get a bench trial if you wanted to in America. This would be it'd be up to you as a defense. Like you could have a jury for this. Australia, that's not how it works. It's a different thing over there. And in Australia, yes, their laws in the Commonwealth are far more plaintiff friendly. In America, we do have freedom of speech, and there are probably things that he could do. I know, for example, in Florida, the idea of defamation per se in Florida doesn't necessarily apply to someone who's part of the media, and Karl would be a media personality. He's a person who covers news events. But would every state he be okay? Some states he might have anti-slap protection. Some states he'd still be in trouble. It's going to be dependent on what state he's in. But this is, buddy. Would this fail anti-slap? Like I said, Ag, it would be dependent on your state. It's dependent on your state. And there's so many states, it's hard to tell. Like Ohio, for example, we just got it. We just got anti-slap, so we don't even have case law on it yet. So I don't know what it would be. Hold on one second, chat. So, good job, Karl. You fucking put your family at risk for this. I hope it was worth it. But remember, chat, let's go back to this. Let's go back to this important thing here. I'm just a simple lawyer, man, but that looks like a lot of fraud to me. It's about Billy Mitchell cheating. It's about Billy Mitchell being a cheater. I mean, he's cheating. He's a cheater. Where's the suicide notice? All of that in here. Uh-oh. It's almost like he kind of defrauded people. Yeah, Danielle, it's like he committed fraud. Yeah, I mean, Gus, I understand, Gus. American courts didn't have standing here. But people are asking if this case was triable in America. There's probably some First Amendment defenses that would work in some states that'd be more lenient towards Karl. But not every state would protect him the same way. There's other states he might be liable to an extent. But yes, this case was not, there was no jurisdiction in the United States. That's why Billy Mitchell hunted him down in Australia. So that is a correct point. And if I didn't make that clear, yes, Billy Mitchell went after Karl because Karl was safe from American jurisdiction. So there you go. Complete scumbaggery from Karl. And, Billy might be a scumbag in his own way. He might be. And he kind of comes off as one, the way he handles things. But this time he was right. He was the righteous man. So, Billy Mitchell, W. Billy Mitchell. Well, if you're the Billy Mitchell, hello. But yes, Karl was the scumbag here, guys. Karl was the bad man. And that's just how the world goes. That's how the world is, man. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's all about narratives. That's things you see there. And Karl was very good at manipulating people. If you had asked me what this was all about, I was like, I don't know. It sounds like Billy Mitchell suing him because of like his Donkey Kong shit. And I would have thought that too. I mean, it totally makes sense. You're like, okay, well, the guy sued a bunch of other people, and he sued Karl, and you're like, oh, I mean, like, I saw some of Karl's videos, and I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, it sounds like it sounds like Karl's gonna win. Then you get to the end, you're like, oh wow, Karl was a complete fucking liar. Like, it's a case in Australia. I didn't even bother looking at him. Like, I can't get court docs. I don't know shit about it. That's the thing. Like, maybe it happened. I don't know. Like, I didn't know anything about it. And then you come out and you're like, wow, Karl fucking ripped everyone off. And he did this guy dirty. Like, that's the thing. Like I said, you may not, like, whether or not he did cheat in Donkey Kong or anything like that has no relevance to the fact that he accused this guy of basically driving someone to suicide, which, yeah, that's pretty fucked up. And then he just ignored it and lied to everybody about it. And it's one thing if he just lied about it and hadn't taken a dime, but he lied about it and basically begged people for like $100 $125,000. And that's the money we know of. Maybe other people made private donations or did other things. So who knows how much money Karl's grifted off of this and lied about it. Those people clicked and watched his videos, and then he got sponsors, and those sponsors gave him more money, and he had more sponsorships, and then boom, 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 and it all stacked up. So this was a grift for him. And yes, Karl comes across as a lunatic. He hunted Billy Mitchell down. He hunted Billy Mitchell down to do this. And as he said, Karl kind of interjected himself into this fight for, like, the guy's playing Donkey Kong, dude. Like, it's, if he's cheating, okay. If he's not, like, even if he is, like, what's the big deal here? Like, why did you have to do this? You went out, you're like Quinn in, like, Jaws. He set out on the boat going to hunt a shark. Or even, actually, even better, it's Captain Ahab. This was his whale. He was chasing the white whale. Well, Karl's albino, so, like, it doesn't work that way. But anyways, he's chasing that swarthy-haired whale with the American flag tie. And Karl's chasing after for what end? To what end, Karl? To what end? And I've said this before, you guys. Going and doing a lawsuit, you take all your money. You take all your money and you push it into the middle of a table. And then you take out a match. Hold on. Do I still have matches out here? Yeah, this is the thing. If that really was Billy, if you want to talk about it, I'd be happy to have you on. I should have an email down below if you're interested. If that really was you, Billy, I can't tell. But anyways, when you take a lawsuit, you literally take your money. You shove all your money into the middle of a table. And you take all your money and you go like this. You go, whoosh, and you light it on fire. You light it on fire. And what do you do with it? Well, now you have a pile of ashes and, maybe you win. Okay, you win. And Australia's a little different because you can get costs back a little easier. But in general, you're taking all your money and lighting it on fire. And maybe you win and you get told you're righteous. Cool. And I'm sure for Billy Mitchell, I don't know, that's why if you're there, I don't know what your aims were, but ultimately, at the very least, you wanted vindication from a court to say, no, what Karl did is bullshit. Cool. Sometimes that's all you get. Sometimes you get a nominal damage of like $1. You were the right guy. Maybe you get some more money back. In his case, he's going to get a bunch of money back, which is good, but that's not always a guaranteed outcome. A lot of times you just whoosh the money and you don't get anything back. And everybody lights their money on fire and you don't get anything at all. But Billy is in a position where he can do that. He's able to make that risk. Karl's out there scraping up bucks and trying to fight a war, which, once again, that doesn't make any sense. If you have the money and you're willing to engage in protracted litigation, by all means do it. But for Karl, you don't have the money. This is kind of like the Ukraine thing. Like, you don't have the money or weapons to go fight the Russians, and you're dependent entirely on other people to supply and equip you. And you're fighting, like, and I would say, like, the idea you're going to start a war with somebody and you can't, like, you have to hope, people's generosity will help you. I don't get it. I think Karl, it's got some mental health issues. Because, it's lolcow behavior. It's definitely lolcow behavior. And did Karl buy his own bullshit? I think partially, but I think Karl had his own axe to grind. He saw Billy as somebody he wanted to go after somebody. I think Karl wanted to make a name. I think Karl wanted to go and say, I'm going to hunt this whale down. I think he's like, I'm going to hunt this whale. I want to slay this dragon. And it's like, You know, they say when you go out for revenge, dig 2 graves before you hit the road. And that's what happened here. Like Karl dug a grave before he left, and it's like somebody, Karl's like, someone's getting carried back on their shield. Well, it sure as shit wasn't Billy. Karl came out there and oof. And it's interesting, Karl hasn't talked about this yet. I'm sure he's going to appeal, but what are you going to appeal at this point? There's nothing else. There's nothing else for him to appeal. It's just an example of you don't have to go to war. And it turns out, honestly, this isn't Smog winning, actually. Karl went out there. This is more like I Am Legend. Karl's out there killing all the monsters. He thinks he's killing all the monsters, when in reality, he's the monster. If you guys have never seen I Am Legend or actually read the book, by the time the vampires take over the world, he's the daywalker. He's the monster. He's the guy who tells the stories. They tell the stories about the daywalker who kills them in the sun because they can't go out there, and he's mythical. Karl thought he was, and it's true. He is the legend. He is the absolutely legend. And it's funny. And, I was kind of like running through this, and it kind of I can tie it together now. He talks about the legends. Karl is the legend. He's the bad man. He's the monster. Going after Billy, like, okay. Karl was the monster. Karl is the baddie. Hans of Visa bodies. Karl never had that moment to stop and go, huh, am I the good guy here? So, yeah. I mean, it's like Karl did all this over fucking video games. Remember, chat, this is all about a goddamn video game. Donkey Kong, which, Billy, it sounds like you're out there. Sounds like you play it real well. But Karl went to all this over a fucking video game. Of all the things, chat, all the things. Why? Like, this is what you dig in on. So, I'm extra gay right now. Well, this is part of what, as an attorney, my job's to, like, counsel and educate. Like, the idea this guy got so fixated. Like, you are the bad guy. You were the guy that everybody's worried about. Karl comes in screaming Billy Mitchell's a bad man, and it's like, what the things you had to do to show that you are the bad man. Like, Billy Mitchell's a guy who plays Donkey Kong and sometimes sued a couple of people. Okay. But in the meantime, you like, it's just, be careful out there, chat. You might never be in this situation, but you might have a similar situation in your life. Like, don't get target fixated like that. Have good friends, have good counsel, people you can rely on who say, hey man, this ain't healthy. Like, let it go. Go mow the yard, take up a hobby, do something. Don't just be a fucking spaz. Don't be a fucking spaz. So, Billy Mitchell saying, Eagle, yes, USA. Yes, he played one Goldeneye level 100,000 times. He's obsessive. And yeah, that's fine. Spend your time speedrunning, but you got to be careful what you do. So, Donkey Kong forever. MW says, what should I do with my 9-year-old's cocaine? No, don't do it. So, Karl cheated on the game GoFundMe. That's even better. It's even better. Karl cheated and GoFundMe the game. So, and that's the thing. I don't know what Billy wants to do. If Billy's going to make him pay it all back, I don't know. If Billy demanded he paid it all back, I wouldn't fault Billy for a second. If Billy said, Karl, I want you to apologize in written form and do a full retraction video where Karl has to eat shit for like 15 minutes, I wouldn't fault him for that. I wouldn't fault him for doing all three options. But if Billy were to say, I'm not going to make you pay me, just do that. That'd be a very magnanimous and very kind gesture, but he doesn't have to. And if he doesn't want to, I don't fault him. So if only Karl had read Moby Dick, if Karl had only read like Sun Tzu, A Book of Five Rings, many books. Many books. So go build models. Yeah, Karl, go learn how to paint a model. Billy Mitchell saying AU, that's the 2-letter abbreviation for Australia. So, Schneebly says the fact professional attorneys could tell Karl somebody was defamation proof because he cheated is wild. That borders on not knowing what the word means. Well, remember, here's the thing, Schneebly. We have to go off of what Karl has told us. I don't think his attorneys told him that. I'm sure his attorneys were very open and honest. Whether Karl was so deluded he didn't understand or didn't believe, that's the real issue here. I don't think he knows that. And that's where, once again, Karl is a liar now, so I can't trust Karl to be honest in what's going on. Oh my God. All right. Well, that's the problem here. We don't know if Karl's not a reliable narrator anymore. Karl is not a reliable narrator. So you can't trust him. So maybe his attorney told him, like, Mike, you're not doing this right. And Karl's like, lawsuit. And they're like, brother, you're going to lose. And he's like, I don't care. Maybe he was too lunatic to know that. Yeah, pay up, Karl. Yeah, pay up, sucker. That's where we are. Let's see here. Trying to catch up with you guys. Karl got the kill stream. Yeah, he did. Yes, he ultimately did. So, I sent you something super special on Discord. I just saw that. Oh my God. All right, we'll show it. Chat. Yes, this is from Whiskey77. He sent this just so you guys could see it. Thank you, Whiskey. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh. I don't understand why it removed all the books and moved the paintings around in the background, but thank you. All right, chat. Let's get to some super chats here in information. The Chugi Show saying Leighton picking out matching PJs for him and Clyde. Yes, thank you. Hold on one second. What's that? Yeah. So it's not him? Okay, whatever. Okay. So thank you, Chugi. Ignatius of Antioch for 3 months. Thank you for the support. Saying Karl is, I think he means Darkside Phil with aura. Yes. He's Darkside Phil with charisma. Torger the White says, crikey! He made quite the dog's breakfast of it, mate. Is that a thing? I know that there's the dog's bollocks. And like you take a piss on the dog's bollocks, which I don't understand why you would pee on the dog's bollocks, but yeah. For 17 months, Torgo, thank you. Tyler says, hope my weekend's going well. It has been going pretty good. Whiskey77 says, Ag has decided since being a mod is his preferred pronouns are they, them, /K. Yes. Yes, it's what happens when you become a Janny. And thank you for 10 months of support. Justin Smith has been a member for 18 months. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate that. D. Marie says, hey there. Hello. Member for 6 months. Thank you, D. James Hurley says, Sean's thoughts on Nick wanting you on a hit list. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I mean, like, it would be flattering to receive death threats because I never get them, and there's also just the whole idea of like, people want to come at me, they better, they better come real fucking heavy. Is all I can say. Just come heavy, come heavy. All I can tell you. Let's have some fun. We'll play in the front yard. James says Karl Jobst thinks the show 24 is right-wing propaganda. I mean, it was very much like, I will be honest with you, the show 24 is very much Patriot Act, governmental surveillance pornography. It very much is. Because, like, CTU, like, they do all the shit they do, and Jack Bauer operates extrajudicially, like when he's cutting out people's eyes. There's no time as he cuts out your eyes from your thing with a microtech knife and his USP. I mean, like, and he does it all while carrying it all in his, like, satchel. I think it's all cool. But when you're, like, older, you're like, oh my God, these people are fucking psychotic. And they operated outside of the law. So, yes, 24 does have some issues, but it's a good story overall. I won't disagree with that. Matt Ahan says, from Foxu to Sean, the day is good. Well, thank you. Rodeo says, Karl Jobst ran his speed ran his career. Yes. Yes. John Dillon says, come on, Sean, a serial killer recognizes a serial killer in every spy or hitman movie. I know, but it's like, it happens. It happens. Oh, this is Augusto Pino says, because Billy Mitchell does sell hot sauce. He sells a hot sauce brand. I've never tried it. I know some people said it's salty. Some people said it's good. Some people have said it's like Frank's with like, it's Frank's, but it's not as it's a different taste, which is people like it better. I don't know. Not a big hot sauce guy. Augusto says, I'd buy the potentially sandwich spread 100% for real. Well, I'd be using it on all my sandwiches, so you never get them. Keopathic says, if Karl copyright strikes his video, insult his wife's chest size, approach her, insult her, and walk away. Yes, if you guys don't know, Karl Jobst was a pickup artist, and he tried to like tell people how to do it and teach people how to do it. The Farms covered it. That's not what this is for. It's just meant Karl's a goofball and all that, but that's here where Karl fucked up is what we're covering. So that's what we're doing here. Let me see here. Let me see here. Okay, hold on. Seller says the mic didn't pick up that up well. Do a desk pop. I'd rather not. I don't want to put a hole in the floor. 2.0 will get very mad if I do that. So I'm not going to do that. So we got, well, let's see what else we got here. So Mark of Reality, hey Mark, is saying Steve Gosney, right? Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Z-Star says Karl pivoted to leftism because the Troons and speedrunning started canceling people. I don't know. It's kind of like, well, he's a sellout then. It's even worse. Worse than being a commie is a fake commie. So he could still suffer. Hypnotoad says, Sean's hot tonight. Chat is full of hot young guys. Like, okay. Thank you, Hypnotoad. Then Irham Amin for 20,000 Indonesian rupees. That's 20,000, chat. Says, hello, you absolute legends. Sean loves anime. Thank you. Can people that donate, and this is the thing, AM, you brought up, can people that donated money for his legal defense sue him because they were misled? I mean, they might be able to sue him for fraud, but you're going to sue people, like you're going to sue a guy for $50. There ain't a whole lot you can do. Like, that money's gone. Like, you would waste money going after him. Even if you sued him yourself, you're wasting money going after him. So, no. I mean, Karl, it's like, people who do Indiegogo or Kickstarter, things or GoFundMe scams. They want to do whatever project it is in their community, and they raise the money. They're basically walking away with it. They got one over on everybody. You can't charge back on this stuff. It's too late. So, Yeah. Sorry, they can't. I mean, it doesn't matter. Carl's a piece of shit and lied and fucked everyone over, but yeah, that's it. AM says, do you think the court's results will be the same in an American court? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of courts Carl would probably be okay in, but I think there's a good number of them he might actually lose in. And a jury might find it defamatory. I mean, Billy Mitchell demonstrated he suffered real losses. He was disinvited from going to conventions. You know, it did hurt him in that sphere of Billy Mitchell, the gaming guy. You know, his family business and the other stuff out there was operating. But what he was making income doing the Billy Mitchell, like the gamer stuff, it hurt that a lot. Like, I mean, it really hurt him. So he did suffer damages. But it's going to be very dependent on your state because your state law is going to be critical there. You know, some places might consider that a problem, you know, alleging that you caused someone to commit suicide. That could be a big deal in some states. Some states probably not. Some states anti-slap would cover you. Some states it might not. It depends where you're at. It really does. And it might even depend from judge to judge, jury to jury at sometimes. Keopathic says, Aaron lied. Karl Ricada. Jay Wolfenstein's been a member for 7 months. He says, Karl's self-righteousness it is nauseating. Sparky's Tech Corner is a new member. Thank you, Sparky. Fatty Caddy says, did you pass my QS and my questions offer along, Sean? Sean? Yes, I saw your messages. Yes, thank you, Fatty Caddy. Taylor Cook says, I used to work where Billy Mitchell had the perfect Pac-Man game. And man, there are some interesting characters around classic games. Well, I mean, really in any hobby, you're going to, like, the higher echelons of any hobby or thing, you're going to find interesting people. So, that's interesting. That's cool. Maximilian says, he who fights with lol cows should be aware that he's not become a lol cow himself. Nietzsche. Yes, it's true. That's very true. Stephen Bunt says, settle the fight of Kurt versus Bronca. Did the Supreme Court order the return of the MS-13 guy Garcia back to the U.S. or no? The Supreme Court didn't say, like, to bring him back, but they said you have to facilitate it. But we're still not clear what facilitate means and what effectuate means, because the judge, she didn't go on. She said effectuate once and never, elucidated on it further. So, I mean, really what they could do is they could probably, like, drag him over to the embassy, have an immigration hearing, and afuera. I mean, I don't basically that's what you could do, it sounds like. I don't know, though. I think you could read it both ways. I mean, it's the courts are trying to sidestep issues and trying not to get in the way, but it's just causing more problems. They just need to cut the Gordian knot with a sharp sword. The Alexandrian approach is very critical at times. Just to it. Michael Kilkey says 24 is 100% war on terrorism propaganda. Yeah. Yep. And Peanut Fiends is right. It's actually more like neocon propaganda, but yes. EDW Raptor says, I would go outside and confront like Boogie. I mean, yeah, except it'd be with a fucking AR-15, but yeah. Oh, buddy, it'd be fun. Baron Richard Harkonnen says, it's hard to be heavier than Sean. No, in the sense of, like, you better come heavy means, like, bring guns. Bring guns. Lots of guns. You better come heavy. So, but here we go. What else we got? Let me see here. Johnny, how you doing, man? It says it's interesting to see the perceived online personality in respect to Karl collapse after the loss. Yeah, I mean, that happens. That 100% happens. That 100% happens. Let me see here. What are you guys looking at? Hold on. It moved too fast. Yes, he picked up women by saying hi and running away. Yeah, I've watched his things. It was very weird. Oh, Feisetter is saying, Billy, consider making hot honey. Apparently that's a thing now. There's like one of these pizza places on YouTube here. It's like crispy pizza. It's like they make all these pizzas in New York. They like put hot honey on everything. I guess that's the thing now. That's what the kids do. Gives them that riz. Billy Mitchell says, hot honey. Yeah, think about it, I guess. Emma says, just guys being dudes getting big Donkey Kong scores. Yep. Just dudes being dudes. This costs nothing. You take the Russell Greer approach. Well, there you go. That's pretty good. Let me see here. American Legend says the fact he self-ended over a video game is very sad. See, it wasn't the video game. It was that there were people that were like bullying him and taunting him, tormenting him. And when you have that on top of a bunch of chronic ailments, like it's tough when you have very chronic ailments that cause you a lot of pain and discomfort every day. Like it's not uncommon for people to have those issues. And then whatever it is they enjoy doing, they're now getting fucked with on a daily basis. I'm not talking about the lawsuit, but remember when ApolloLegend said the two people in there, like Dark Viper and the other parties and Easyscape, those guys were he said them by name. Well, there you go. So that's the problem. You guys are talking about. We're going to talk about EVS. If Karl had the tiniest bit of humility, he probably could have weaseled away with just minimal damages. I'm sure if he had done a full retraction, Billy would probably have been like, all good. But he didn't want to do it. He doubled down and doubled down and doubled down and doubled down. He just couldn't let it go. He couldn't let it go. And that's the thing, chat. It's an example of you just got to let shit go. And from here, guys, we are going to move over into another topic here. About what do you do? What do you do? So, sometimes it's about just letting stuff go, chat. Sometimes it's about letting stuff go. So I think we're all caught up here, chat. I think we're all caught up. I just moved out as local. Yeah, I know. I moved it, but I didn't know how long we were going to run here. So we're actually going to move this back. We're going to move this back to the normal time I had it set for. So, chat, if you guys enjoyed this, if you guys are new here, thank you so much for being here. We are actually going to move on to address. This is another thing. I thought we'd have enough time to break the shows up, but it kind of does here. We're going to be talking about the stabbing that happened out in Texas at the high school track meet, and how is this going to work? Like, what can the kid who got into the stabbing do? Like, can he claim self-defense? And we'll read through the police report we have, and we'll figure out whether or not he could do that, what his defenses might be, and how is this all going to work in Texas? So with that being said, chat, yeah, thank you guys all for being here. We're going to head you over there. I will auto direct this over there. But in the meantime, chat, just remember until next time, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. But it does mean you're liable, especially if you defame people like Karl did, and then you fucking lie about it, and then you take money from people as you fucking lie about it, because you're a big grifting, fraudulent piece of shit. You're an absolute legend at that. So, with that being said, chat, I will see you in about 30 seconds or so. In the meantime, you guys take care.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy that Kaden yelled at?